Hey guys, and welcome to the stream. Again, I'm having some weird technical difficulties with software now. So that's nothing new with Adobe CC 2015. For some reason, the camera is not wanting to move my footage, like at all, which is really, really not good for me. I don't know why it's not working, but it is not. It's not working with my keyframe. So you're going to see me do this and try to figure out why it's doing what it's doing. Oh, this is just things that just really tick me off. They change one thing, and then another thing changes, and then something doesn't work, and then that doesn't change. Oh, man. Like, that doesn't even work. Changes that orientation, but it doesn't change my orientation with my shot. Like, what's going on here? Like, do I need to do, like, change my tracking options? What's the deal here? Motion tracker. Let's delete motion trackers because I technically don't need them. So is like that what we're going to need to do? Is that what's happening? This is wild. Like, I'm not like, this is weird. I don't understand what's going on and why this is doing this for some odd reason. Yeah, so what I'm trying to do is it's a very basic thing. I've been doing this whole thing like there's been so many tutorials that I've done this exact same thing, and it's doing it just fine, but for some reason it's not putting down my keyframe data. Like, I change the keyframes and it doesn't work, which is really, really weird. So I'm going to turn this off. So basically what I'm trying to do is I've got this dolly that I'm wanting to go from here. Very basic maneuver. And it's working just fine. But for some reason, my keyframes are relaying or are not relaying at all. Like, this is really like pissing me off. So I set a keyframe here and basic thing, and I'm just going to move out the camera. And it doesn't relay that information onto my timeline, like, at all. Like, am I doing something wrong? Like, what is the deal here? Should I set up a new camera? Let's try that. Set up a new camera. So, like, it's something that's just, if it's not one thing, it's another. So I'm going to try this and see if this is going to work. Maybe there's just going to be a completely new way that I'm going to have to learn how to do something with the new Adobe CC 2015. I don't know. Take a deep breath. Okay. Layer, new, camera. I don't know. Let's try a 24 millimeter camera. Maybe that will work. So it's going to relay that information just fine. So we're going to go from here. Maybe if I wasn't an idiot, it would work. Let's do active camera. I hope that was the fix. I really hope that was the fix. All right, do this, transform, position, but it doesn't mean I don't. Oh, there it is. I'm an idiot. Oh my god. I'm an idiot. All right, I had the front view selected instead of the active camera, which I should have. Okay, yeah, you just saw me go through a massive brain fart. I'm so sorry, guys. But this is why we do things live, because not everybody's perfect. So So yeah, so basic maneuvering, that whole spiel that just happened, this is what we're trying to accomplish. For some reason, it wasn't working. So yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I have somebody here who's sharing my pain. So yeah, absolutely. It's good to have somebody to share the pain with. Okay. So now we've got the move, we've matched our shots, we've got the 2 hits, and we're now dollying out. But this isn't the last thing that we're going to be doing. We want to mimic the fact that okay, so our full frame is this right here pretty much, okay? It's a bunch of darkness and it looks like crap. I was going to say something else, but it looks like crap. And I need to take that out. So as soon as he gets right here, I'm going to, where is it? Left charge, T, opacity, and it's just going to go, whoop, and it's going to go bye-bye. Go bye-bye. Bye-bye. It'll be gradual, but it'll be good. Okay, anyway. So, I want to make this look as if what we're seeing in this foreground part right here is actually what the size of the composition is and what the lens is actually seeing. So what the lens is actually seeing at all times is this frame, is this wide. But we're making it look as if it's dollying out from a this wide shot. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to add a lens effect on an adjustment layer here. So we'll go to Layer, New, Adjustment Layer. And we're going to type in Lens, Lens Blur, Lens Shape. No, don't want to use Boris. Want to use what everybody else has. CC Lens Distort. Take that, and we will move it on top of our footage. And it's going to make it look like you're in a big, giant fisheye, which is good. That's what it should do. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the size of this. This is basically going to make our footage warp a little bit, but it's going to give it the aspect of, you know, hey, this is a new lens. So it's actually looking through a warped lens, a little bit warped lens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down just a bit, widen this up, and I want to kind of mess with the convergence. So I'm going to bring it to like a really crappy level, and I want to mess with how this lens is going to be affecting our footage. So you can make it affect it like a ton. Like you can make it wrap. So I use this effect a lot whenever it wraps in negative convergence to put stuff like on TVs and things. It gives a pretty cool different look. But what I'm going to do is I say a lot. I'm just going to bring that convergence up just a bit. So it's just warping right outside of frame. So I want to pull this up to where it is completely in the frame and just converge it out just a smidgen. So now, whenever it goes through, you see a little bit of that warpage, and it looks as if you're moving through this tunnel. And because the things on the sides move a little bit more than the things that are in the foreground and the front. So that's just another way you can add some more cool realism to the effect. And you can change this as much as you want. So I've got a little bit there. I want to do a little bit more. But yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'm not technically supposed to be coloring the footage or not, but I'm going to mess with it just a little bit, just because I like messing with footage, and that's what I'm going to do. So in one of the earlier tutorials, I was using a plugin called HDR Compander. I believe that's what it's called, or that's Compander. I want to say Compander. Yeah, we'll just bring this down onto our adjustment layer here. I'm going to put it underneath or on top of our lens. And I'm going to change the gamma. because we're losing a lot of detail, like a lot of detail in our blacks. And I want to give a little bit more contrast to our shot. All right, so I'm going to try to bring that down as much as I can, which unfortunately we weren't shooting in RAW, so I can't bring back that sky, unfortunately, which unfortunately kind of sucks. Which I might do another tutorial on sky replacement. You know, who knows? It's something I could do. But for now, we'll go into curves, color correction, bring that down, and mess with the curve adjustment just a little bit. Bring up some stuff. So I am just about done with this portion of the tutorial. So if you have questions or anything like that, I'm going to go ahead and say that now. So while I'm working in this and talking about it, think about things you want to ask, and I'll get to all of them. So I see I have 2 watchers. Thank you for watching the stream still after our first cutout, which I'm sorry about. It's just things that happen with live streaming. But if you have questions, now's the time to start thinking about what you want to ask. Okay, so back in After Effects, we've got our dude here, and I'm just going to be messing with our curvature adjustment and bringing our blacks back out. Now, that effect, the HD compounder brings back in a lot of the detail here, but it leaves us with not a whole lot of contrast, so you have to kind of compensate for that just a little bit by bringing in those black levels, and you don't want to do it too much. So now we have a solid black, which is pretty good, which I personally like. And we have our levels back a little bit, so there's not a whole lot of really intense black stuff going on. So he comes in here, and you see a little bit of the sky, thankfully. But we also see more of this cave, because the cave is really what we're trying to get into. Okay, so we've got that. And I want to kind of white balance this up. And so we've got, I mean, it's fairly white balanced. I mean, I can probably color it just a smidgen without doing too much damage. Yep, that's about all I'm going to do, because he wants to keep it white for the colorist. All right, there's that. And I'm going to saturate it. And I'm just about finished with our shot here. Cool. Yeah, that's it. That is our shot. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so I lied again. Okay, so we've got our shot here, which looks good. It's sweet. But right about here, I want to add a mask. And the reason why I want to add a mask is because this guy's hand goes right over an essential part of this shot. So fortunately, I'll just have to add a mask at about right here. So right there. So I'll go M. Should I do it on the dirt charge? Yeah, I'll do it on the dirt charge. All right, so I'm just going to mask his arm through here. Which this is, I mean, this is going to be fairly simple because we're not masking out too much. Whoops. It just became not simple. All right, there's one. Type M, check the mask. It should be good there. Make sure that's up to subtract. And I want to double down that arrow. I want to change the opacity. Make sure. All right, that's going to be just fine. Now, for some of these shots, sometimes I have to do a certain thing a weird way. So I'm going to go ahead and make a little mask expansion thing, because this kind of has to go on, and if I change the opacity of it, it's going to move certain parts of this down that I don't want it to be brought down. So the frame before this is going to be a mask right through here, and it's going to be expansion negative. Okay, so we're going to go through negative expansion, and then I'm going to go ahead 2 frames, and I'm going to bring it up to 0. That's going to give the effect as if this guy's hand is going through a thing, and I just did this completely all wrong because I forgot to hit my path. So make sure your mask path is set there too, and move that down. This way. Move that there. Move that. Move this up. Right there. Come on. Get out. There you go. Pull this out over through here. This down a little bit. Pull that there. Do this here. Alright, that's fine right there. Go to this frame. Do the same thing. We do a lot of masking in After Effects. So if you want to get in After Effects, get really good at masking. If you want to get really good at masking, do a lot of Photoshop or a lot of After Effects. Keep this thing moving on. Oops. Keep on trucking. That. That's weird. That's why. Since our shot's 3D, it's technically looking at this shot a little differently than what we're able to see it. So we have to kind of make adjustments accordingly to what our mask looks like in 3D space. So that's why we're kind of, or I'm kind of moving this thing along a little differently than what I normally do. All right, there's that. There's that. This mask over here should be just fine. Whoops, that is not fine. And again, move this up, move this out, move this back about right there. Over there, move this over there. Keep going here. That actually looks pretty good. This up just a bit. Looks good. And right about here. Move that down. Move this down. Move it down, move it up, move us down, move this up. Pull this up. pull this down, pull this down, pull this down quite a bit. All right, and we should be just about done. I think that should be it. Cool. All right, check this out. Goes in. There we go. Much better. Cool. All right, so we just masked out that small little bit of shot, which took a little bit longer than what it should have, but it did. Okay, so I think we are done with the tutorial, or the live stream tutorial portion of the show. And now we're going to get to questions. So I have 3 viewers, so if you've got any questions for me, now would be the time to ask them. And we've got a couple of them, I believe. Can you explain what you're trying to do again? I already answered that. I bet having a stream is helpful because you get to vent. Yes, loving the vintage. Okay, so the question is, color corrections. Explain anything and everything about color correction, especially in Adobe Premiere, or would you rather correct it in After Effects? That is a good question. There's a lot of stuff to do with color correction. Color correction can make or break a video sometimes. Usually I say audio will make or break your video, because technically audio is 80% of your video. But whenever it comes to color correction, there's a lot of ways to go about it. And it really depends on timeline, first of all. Also, what the footage that you're using. And, well, okay, so timeline, what footage you're using, what kind of cameras you're using, and really the whole overall workflow of what you're trying to accomplish. So, for example, in this particular film, what I'm doing is I'm going, I think that was the second part that I was supposed to tell you guys earlier. So I'm taking this footage, and since the guy who does not have Adobe CC, I have to take the footage, render it all out in QuickTime format, and then he's going to re-import them back into the scenes from his computer that have all the markings on them. So I've got to render all these scenes out, drop ship those to the editor, and then he's going to re-import those back into the scene. And the reason why I'm not color correcting them, I'm actually white balancing the scene so all of our colors look fairly natural, is so they, if they don't hire me to color correct it, they hire a color corrector who will use, I'm not sure what program they'll use, but there's a lot of different programs that they can use, but they might do it in Premiere. They might do it in Adobe SpeedGrade. They might use my favorite program for corrections, which is Resolve. I don't do a lot of it. It's in my secret plugins list. I'm trying to get them on my side. But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways, but the easiest way to color correct that I've found to do, if you can use a 3-way color wheel, which is by Red Giant. They have a really, really good one, and they have a little eyedropper that you can use. If you're looking to white balance the footage, you can use their little eyedropper tool, click on the a white spot in the film, or what is supposed to be white, and it'll completely change the way the footage looks, and it will white balance the footage for you. Now, there's a manual way of doing this, and I believe, what is that in? Video effects, color correction. I can't remember what it is. I believe it's the color balance. No, it's not color balance. It's a 32-bit color corrector. That's not it. That might be it. In fact, I'm going to... All right, you're going to see another shot of this movie because I'm wondering how this is. Which... Nope, that's not it. There, freaking A. 3-way color correction. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so there's a couple of different versions of this. I personally like the Red Giant plugin for it, but there's also this 3-way color corrector, which is usually my favorite way of coloring the footage, because you can color it your midtones, blacks, and highlights And it's kind of like as if you were using a speed grade plugin, but it's a lot more simple. And you can change a lot of the other parameters right here. But this is what I usually use if I'm color correcting in a hurry, or I use curves if I'm in a hurry. But if you're using more professional footage, like on this, if I were to color correct it, I would be color correcting in speed grade or resolve. And that has a ton of different parameters that it looks at. It looks at up to 32-bit cameras, which I believe actually the highest bit rate camera right now is 18, which is the Alexa, my favorite camera. So yeah, there's a ton of different ways of going around color correction. But if you're using VFX and you need the color corrected footage, yes, do all your color correction in After Effects. But if you're sending it off to a color correctionist, try to white balance it as much as you can. That way it makes it easier on them. At least that's what I've been taught and what I'm used to. So if somebody knows any differently, I'd love to hear their opinion on that color correction. But that's a good question, because color correction is something that is one of the most absolutely essential parts in a lot of film footage and commercial work and everything. And you can definitely tell, like if you see stuff on TV, what has been color corrected and what has not been color corrected. And usually the stuff that has been color corrected looks way, 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 way better. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Okay, Goldie, the question is, how long does it take you to edit an average film? So what is your take on an average film? Like, are you looking, like, technically the average, or a feature film is 45 minutes and up. So it really all depends on, what you're filming. So if like an average, like action film, or an average like documentary, because I'm actually working on a documentary right now called People Inspiring People. We shot on Red, and that's taken about a month and a half now, and we're just about finished and ready to send it off into coloring. But that's also with working on a lot of other projects that we do. So typical feature film, I think the longest one that I've worked on so far is about 2 years. And where it's just now getting into VFX right now, which is the Thunderdome documentary. I think I mentioned it in one of the other videos, but you can check out the Thunderdome documentary on youtube.com/ThunderdomeDoc or Thunderdome documentary, and you can check that out. Can I explain the vector scope? Are you talking about Vector Designs One Man Band, or what's up? Oh, okay. I get it. So you're color correcting on a vector scope or not stereoscopic. Okay. That I don't really use it a whole lot, and I really should. It basically shows you the waveform of the colors in a certain way. So if like a certain color is overly bright or overly, oh man, that's a tough one. I wish I could answer that better, but I'm personally not used to using a vector scope that much. So sorry, I don't think I can answer that one to its fullest right now. But what I will do is I've got it on my notes currently. So I'm going to try to answer your question better. Okay. And I am getting lots and lots of messages on my phone. That's cool. Okay, Goldie, you've got another question. What's the most common mistake editors make? There's a lot of them, to tell you the truth. And editors make mistakes all the time, but it's about hiding those mistakes as best as you can. Me personally, I think a lot of editors make mistakes, especially whenever editing to music. People think that, oh, you're editing on the beat. So if you have like you're editing on that downbeat, and every time like a beat happens, you have to edit on that beat. Whenever people just edit constantly on that beat, it makes your film look repetitive after like 30 seconds, and it becomes predictable. So I think that's one of the main things that people make mistakes in editing. Especially, we were talking about music videos earlier, so that's one thing I like to get out there, especially for your music video one-man band. Do not edit on the beat all the time. It's good to edit on the beat, but switch it up. Make it unpredictable. Make it look really good. Does that answer your question? All right. What is the best way to organize your workflow in Premiere? Well, organization is key. And what I like to do, I would open up a Premiere project of one of mine, which is very, very crazy looking. But I have folders upon folders upon folders in folders upon folders upon folders. So what I tend to do is it starts as soon as that camera card comes out of your camera, your organization workflow in Premiere happens. So it really does start as soon, like your Premiere workflow starts as soon as you get that camera card in your hand, or like you take the camera and you plug it into your computer. So you really need to be organized first and foremost into your file formats. So make sure you have, plenty of room for what your project is going to take. This is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see in, I guess this goes back to your question, Goldie, of what editors do, is they miscommunicate their organization with themselves. Because they'll get the camera footage and they'll say, okay, I only need, 100 gigabytes of room. And then they get into Premiere and they get into After Effects and they realize that the folder, or the place that they place the folder in that they're organizing all their stuff in, no longer has enough space on the hard drive. And they then have to either take that footage from that hard drive and put it on another hard drive with bigger space. And then everything kind of gets like miscommunicated and jumbled up, and it just turns into a freaking nightmare. So that would be the first thing of organization I would do, is make sure you have plenty of space on the hard drive that you're working on or working off of. Second is whenever you're bringing all your stuff into Premiere, make sure they're in corresponding folders. So say you've got you have your like left-hand footage you're going to be working in. I don't know how this guy set it up. Well, I would show you how this guy set it up, but I'm in CC. So he's got some stuff here. He's got titles. He's got the music, sound effects, bin 47, whatever that is, which obviously doesn't have anything in it. So, and then he has the VFX folder, which is actually, I think, my folder. But he's got, you bring in the footage and he's got everything into his folders corresponding to how he knows what they are. So he knows now, like, this is in this folder, this is in this folder, this is in this folder, and it's on, based on all these different days. And then there's folders in those folders. Every editor is different. So, I mean, there's no perfect way to do it because it's really what you're most comfortable with. But what I think would be most crucial is what I was saying before, is make sure you have plenty of room on the hard drive that you're going to be working on. And I think that answers your question, One Man Band. Goldie, yes, thanks. Very helpful. Awesome. Yeah, no problem. What's the best program for 3D animation? That's an even bigger convoluted answer because it also goes to what's your 3D, like what do you want to be doing in 3D? Me personally, I love the hell out of 3ds Max. I grew up with 3ds Max, and that's what my college used, and that's what I got used to, and that's what I love, and it's great. It's a great program. Also, if you want to learn, which brings up a good point, Goldie, is if you want to learn 3ds Max, you can get all their software for free as long as you're going to school. And now you can't use it commercially, but they will allow you to download a full version of 3ds Max up to whenever they come out. So if you have like I have the 2014 version of it, but like if I was still going to school, I could get the 2015 version, you know. So you can get that on their website, and believe it's under the student section of Autodesk. So you should go check that out. But I mean, I'm trying to get more used to Cinema 4D, just because that correlates directly back into After Effects, and that's going to help my workflow a lot. And another cool side note is we've got a 3ds Max and Maya developer and 3D designer who's coming onto our tutorial grid team, and he's going to be doing 3ds Max and Maya tutorials. So that's a cool little announcement, and I hope you guys stick around for those too. They're not going to be live, they're going to be post edits. Cool. Well, we're just about, I'm about out of time, and I need to start going and getting a drink of water because I'm starting to get rather hoarse. So I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me tonight, even though our stream dropped only once this time instead of 5 times like it did last night. But again, guys, thanks for watching. Please share. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Avid Productions 479. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our stuff. Make sure to share everything. Also, this is brought to you in part by, again, SiteGround. If you need a website or anything like that, the link to SiteGround is below. They've got stuff starting out at $3.99 and goes up from there. Great for portfolios, great for WordPress. We use it. It's absolutely amazing. We're also working on the film The Black Mariachi by J.M. Williams by Guantanamera Films. And you can also check us out on Twitter. So if you go to our Twitter, it's twitter.com/tutorialgrid. Check us out on avidproductions479.com. Cool stuff there. And again, our Avid Production 479 facebook.com/avidproductions479. Share our stuff. Make sure you keep watching. Tell everybody you know. And guys, again, thanks. I can't thank you guys enough for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have a good night.